This is QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studios on Carib Avenue. I am Umudu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. First, the headlines. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry GCCI, in partnership with various stakeholders, hosted a day-long town hall meeting on Wednesday for artisanal fishermen and policymakers. The Ministry of Justice hosted a closing ceremony of the 81st Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which furthers human rights progress across the continent. A devastating fire in the Fuledu East District in the Upper River region has destroyed homes, leaving the affected families in despair. In international news, the 12th World Urban Forum is underway in Cairo, Egypt, welcoming over 37,000 participants from 182 countries, including the Gambia. And in sports news, the Scorpions head coach Jonathan McKinstry today unveiled his 24-man squad for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers Morocco 2025 against Comoros and Tunisia this month. Those were the news headlines. Now the news in detail. Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is QTV News. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, in partnership with various stakeholders, hosted a day-long town hall meeting on Wednesday for artisanal fishermen and policymakers. The event aimed to provide a platform to discuss the challenges and opportunities within the country's fisheries sector. Usman Jatter has the rest of the details in this report.
The Gambia River is arguably the country's most valuable natural resource, supporting numerous artisanal fish landing sites along both the Atlantic coast and its inland tributaries. Local fishing communities such as Tanje and Gunjur play a crucial role in the Gambia's economy, food security and cultural heritage. However, these communities are confronted with a range of challenges, including regulatory hurdles, environmental concerns and limited access to resources. The meeting aims to identify sustainable solutions to the challenges facing the fisheries sector through in-depth dialogue. Babakar Saho is the Chief Executive Officer of the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI.
One sector that we haven't really gotten close to is the fisheries sector. So we felt that it is high time that we understand what is really happening in this sector so that we can mobilize opportunities and bring it to the fore. We encourage everybody, unedited, to express exactly what you feel your challenges are and what the possible opportunities are. Because if we don't know, we cannot solve them.
Local fishermen face several challenges, including inadequate storage facilities, high fuel costs, taxes, expensive licenses, and issues related to cross-border fishing. These factors contribute to rising fish prices across markets in the country. Dr. Mustafa Sise is the Assistant Country Representative of the Food and Agriculture Organization.
It is necessary to promote dialogue between you, the actors in the fishery sector, and the policymakers. Please seize this opportunity to voice out your needs so that it could be escalated.
Many people rely heavily on the fisheries sector as a primary source of food and income to support their survival. Babakar Kamara, a fisherman at the Tanje fish landing site, is advocating for the provision of modern fishing vessels from the government.
Our
wooden boats are in poor condition. I recommend that the government empower us with modern fishing trawlers. With these vessels, we could fish more effectively and sell our catch at reasonable prices. We are struggling financially and rely on fishing to meet our daily needs. The salaries we earn are not enough to cover basic expenses like rent, school fees, and other necessities. We need support from the authorities. The 2018 Fisheries and Aquaculture National Policy reaffirms the government's commitment to improving working conditions and enhancing access to resources for women and youth in the sector. Here is Salum Jata, a principal fisheries officer at the Fisheries Department.
The Ministry of Fisheries currently, they have prepared about 20 boats
artisanal boats, which they are going to give to the fishermen, because ministry's objective is to increase food production in this country.
This gathering reflects the GCCI's vision of being the leading voice of the business community in the country. The meeting is expected to mark a new chapter in addressing the challenges faced by artisanal fishermen. Bas Manchester, reporting for QTV News.
The Ministry of Justice on Wednesday hosted the closing ceremony for the 81st Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which furthers human rights progress across the continent. Mam Nabuka reports.
The African Commission on Human and People's Rights, founded in 1987, is the oldest body in Africa dedicated to handling human rights complaints. As a quasi-judicial entity, it is tasked with overseeing the implementation of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Headquartered in Banjul, the Commission typically holds biannual ordinary sessions. The 81st Ordinary Session of the ACHPR took place on October 17th, gathering government representatives, civil society organizations, and human rights advocates to address urgent human rights challenges across the continent. Professor Remingoy Lumbu is the chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights.
Ici représenté par l'honorable Hussein.
The closing of this session coincides with the implementation of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights Protocol, which aims to ensure social protection, social security, and the right to nationality and the eradication of statelessness across Africa as part of the African Union's ongoing efforts.
During the 21 days of the 81st Ordinary Session, several discussion panels were held on economic, social and cultural rights in Africa, with a particular emphasis on the right to education. 1,144 stakeholders from across the continent participated in these panels, and through their collective efforts, significant recommendations and resolutions were developed. Hussein Tomasi, the Gambia's Solicitor General and Legal Secretary, shared the country's primary focus in advancing these critical human rights issues.
We recognize that the future of Africa hinges on our ability to equip our youth with the necessary skills to thrive in a competitive world. Our goal is to ensure that there is free and affordable education for every child in the Gambia, enabling them to reach their full potential and contribute to the socio-economic and political development of our nation and the continent at large.
A final communique outlining the next steps of the Commission was presented, with key emphasis placed on the rights of older people, persons with disabilities, women and girls, as well as the right to education across Africa. Janet Salanjai, the vice chairperson of the ACHPR, shared the mechanisms in place to ensure member states uphold the recommendations and resolutions.
These are the mechanisms we have. It could be a press statement issued by the Commission itself, because occasionally we do issue press statement, or it could be a letter of urgent appeal to engage with dialogue with the state, to actually call upon the state to verify the facts and also to investigate and to ensure accountability.
The ACHPR convenes 4 times a year in ordinary sessions, during which reports on subsidiary mechanisms mentioned in previous communiques are presented and reviewed. This process ensures that progress is monitored and to effectively assess the impact of recommendations and resolutions. Mam Nabuka, reporting for QTV News.
A devastating fire in Bas Manchester and Bending villages in the Fuladu East district in URR has destroyed homes, leaving families in despair in their respective communities. Our reporter Alhaji A.F. Jallo visited the scene and he now files this report.
According to eyewitnesses from both communities, the fire was caused by an electrical issue. Kofi Ato, a newlywed, and Ali Kagbo, both tenants on Manchester Street in Basse, says they were not in the compound when the fire broke out.
It is really painful because we lost a lot. We lost a lot because we just wedded, and we are expecting to at least to live a very peaceful life, and sure things like this occur. It is really pitiful. that I just came back and I was not able to remove most of my, as you can see, I was not able to remove most of my documents, my properties, our television, freezers, other things. Everything got destroyed.
So I used to went for work early in the morning, around 8 o'clock I went for work. Sometimes I used to come around 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening. Then this evening I was coming, on the way coming, one my friend called me. He tell me, check your house, I think there is fire. It's the time I'm coming. Then I call my mates, everything burned, nothing is inside.
Here is Mustafa Drame, the fire victim from Bas Manchester community.
At the time the incident occurred, I was away visiting my family in Perai. My daughter called to inform me that there had been an electric spark, and soon after, the house caught fire. All of my belongings were destroyed in the blaze. Nothing escaped. My freezers, satellite dishes, televisions, clothing, and many other valuables were all consumed by the flames. We thank God that no lives were lost, but everything I owned is gone. As you can see, even the building is on the verge of collapsing.
Ali Koma, the Village Development Committee chairman, has some advice.
It happened yesterday and it happened today. My advice would be, if people are leaving their houses, let us switch off all our appliances, because this could not have happened if all the electricity appliances were off. The fire service, definitely, the response was good. They came, immediately they were called. But again, the route to the compound was blocked. There was no road. So that delayed them. From what I understand, is the electricity, because it happened immediately. The power came back. There was no electricity since morning. So when it came this fall, then this fire started. And the person residing here, the resident, told us that is the electricity that had a mass, and that's the cause of the fire.
The fires that occurred in these communities have been attributed to high voltage electricity. According to residents, this is particularly concerning given the current erratic electricity supply in Upper River region. For these victims in Basse, anyone willing to help can contact QTV on email news@qtv.gm or call 33 during office hours. For QTV News, I am Alaji AF Jallo.
We'll now go for a commercial break, and when we return, we still have some more international, local, and sport news stories.
fii mooy fan fii mooy Inessa di place bi nga xam ne moom la ñëpp taam place bii bépp xeetu ataaya bu baax rek bu dugg see ci dëkk bi xamal li fii rek la am bara wërga bii neex na lool saf na ba pare tamit nag am gu bu neex boo ko naanee rek da ngay kontaan ci saas añ ba suur ba gëreesal li nga lekk jëndal baara ataaya bii ndax moom la ñëpp taam gis nga sama client bii ataaya bu neex bu ne moom laa koy njëkk a jox ndax moom kat ataaya bu neex rek lay wër bara wërga bii mooy wërga bi gën te moo gën a saf kon nag ràññee leen ko bu baax kon daw leen gaaw ca Banjul foofu ca Inessa di place bi nga xam ni foofu rek nga ko mën a amee wholesale wala retail mu ngi foofu ci boori court house bi foofu ca Banjul wala nga daw ci bépp marché bépp supermarket bépp boutique fépp foo dugg rek di nga mën a am baara warga bii nga xam ne moom la ñëpp di wër tey baara warga moo dàq ci warga yi man maa ngi ci moom ndax su ma maree ataaya moom rek lay naan.
The future is now. With QCell's 5G network, experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled device. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. This is QTV News. During a recent orientation on hygiene promotion for over 40 adolescent peer health educators in the Kanifing municipality, Michael Mangamendi, the Director of Health Promotion and Education, highlighted findings from a recent survey conducted by the Ministry of Health, which revealed that Poor hygiene continues to be a significant challenge in the Gambia. Loli M. Camara tells us more.
Poor hygiene continues to be a significant public health challenge in the Gambia. Michael Mangamendi emphasized that the survey results highlight the urgent need for increased efforts to raise awareness about hygiene practices. He stressed that promoting good hygiene is essential for preventing the spread of infectious diseases.
Looking at our statistics from the recent surveys that have been conducted, you can see that it's very alarming. For an example, like the area where we are here, the Kanefe municipality, records have shown from the survey that only 47% of the households are practicing hand washing, have hand washing facilities. And when you look at it nationally, it's again low. And that goes down to 31% of households. Only 31% of households were found with hand washing facilities, including soap and water. These are really a concern. And when you also look at water sanitation, it's worst. Because survey has also shown that around this area, the urban area, about 73% of the households are at risk of contamination of water based on the E. coli counts in water.
Mr. Mendy further indicated that the Ministry of Health is planning to implement a series of community-based programs and partnerships through the Directorate of Health Promotion and Education to enhance awareness of hand hygiene. He also addressed the recent surge of flu cases among residents.
The ministry is aware, and this is why the ministry doesn't only wait until we've seen a positive case. We are always, this is why we continuously encourage people to take up the precautionary measures, preventive measures, and one of it, which is the use of mask and also hand washing. And washing at any point, especially after having contact with other people or physical contacts or with surfaces as well. You can never tell whether that surface that you have contact with is contaminated or not.
The survey also revealed regional disparities in hygiene practices, with reported rates being significantly lower in certain areas of the country. Director Mendy reiterated the importance of targeted interventions to address these discrepancies.
And when you go to the rural part of the country, it's even more, about 92%. So this is a concern. And hand washing is very much effective in the prevention of transmission. This is why we always encourage people to use soap and water.
As the country strives to enhance public health outcomes, promoting basic hygiene practices such as hand washing remains essential in fighting preventable diseases and protecting community health. For QTV News, Loli M. Kamara.
From that report, now to international news. The 12th World Urban Forum is underway in Cairo, Egypt, welcoming over 37,000 participants from 182 countries, including the Gambia. Aliou Cisse has the rest of the story.
This year's forum underscores the central role of local actions in addressing the challenges of sustainable urban development. The theme is, "It all starts at home, local actions for sustainable cities and communities." And here are a few examples of what home means.
Home for me is a place where I feel safe enough to be me, where I'm represented, accepted, and loved.
Home for me is a place of safety and hope.
Home is where my dreams have no limits.
Home for me means my mom's cooking. To me, home means unconditional love, experiencing that for the first time.
And here is why the theme matters.
We are witnessing a global housing crisis.
1.1 billion people live in informal settlements and slums.
380 million are homeless. 1 in 3 people lack access to safe drinking water.
The event is called by the UN Habitat and its partners and attended by policymakers, urban planners, researchers, and community leaders to address issues around urbanization. During the event, various assemblies, including those for youth, grassroots organizations, and women, will discuss the need for safe, inclusive, and resilient urban spaces. The UN Habitat launched its World Cities Report 2024, warning that without intervention, billions of urban residents may face severe climate impact by 2040, stressing urgency for cities to adopt inclusive policies for climate adaptation. The forum's Urban Expo showcased sustainable solutions with areas dedicated to public space, housing, and renewable energy innovations. The Gambia's Lands Minister Hamad Nkeba is also expected to attend and speak at the forum, where he will share the country's current reality and what the government is doing to mitigate the impact of urbanization. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Coming up next is sports news. The Scorpions of the Gambia head coach Jonathan McKinstry today unveiled his 24-man squad for Morocco 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Comoros and Tunisia this month. Our sports reporter Amadou Tamba was at the Football House in Kanifing, and this is his report.
All the three goalkeepers maintain their places in the team, and 4 new players are added, of which 3, namely Babukar Njai of Auckland roots in the USA, Austria Vienna midfielder Abubakar Bari in Austria, and English side Notts County's lethal striker Alassana Jatta are receiving their debut call-ups, while Abdoulaye Sanyang returns after missing the September window through injury. Here is coach Jonathan McKinstry.
Retaining Ibrahima Jarju, Lamine Saidi, Sheikh Sibi. In the defense, Ibu Toure, Babukar Njai, Joseph Cisse, Dudu Gay, Mamadou Lion Njai, Omar Colley, and James Gomez. In the midfield, Alassana Mane, Mamadou Badjo, Abubakar Bari, Ibu Adams, and Ibrahima Darbo. Forwards, Musa Barrow, Ablai Jallo, Abdoulaye Sanyang, Aliou Fadera, Suleiman Kamara, Yankuba Minte. And the strikers, Abdoulaye Cisse, Ali Sow, and Alassana Jatta.
Yankuba Minte, an exciting youngster for both Gambia and Brighton, despite being injured and not featuring for English Premier League side Brighton and Hove Albion in their last 3 games. He makes the squad, McKinstry clarifies.
I spoke with the sporting director of Brighton 2 days ago. So Yankuba is now fully fit. So he is now back in training as of this week. He's expected back in training with the Brighton first team. We know that not having played, the last game Yankuba played was the game against Madagascar for us. And that's not an ideal situation. But I think also that Yankuba, even at his young age, has built up enough credit to say, for one player in the squad, we can take a risk.
Before the Independent Stadium's continued disapproval by CAF, there had been expectations of playing this fixture at home. However, the failure to give the stadium the all-clear means the Gambia will be playing yet another home game away from home. Nonetheless, McKinstry says the Scorpions have their destiny in their own hands.
Really, our guys are pretty strong mentally, yeah? But equally for us as a staff, we make sure there's very clear messaging. You know, because if you're setting out on a journey, if you want to get from A to B, you need to know where B is. You need to know what the road conditions are going to be like in order to get to B in a good condition. And that's what our job as a staff is. It's about making sure the players know what's expected of them this week, know very clearly what each of their individual roles and responsibilities are, and as a team, how we need to react to situations, and then to go out and do it.
Gambia sit third in the group with 5 points. Opponents Comoros are second with 6 points. Tunisia, who we will face in the last day of qualifiers, are top with 7 points. And Madagascar, still with a chance of qualifying, are bottom with 2 points. Given the situation, the Gambia needs to collect maximum 6 points to qualify, or at least 4 points from these 2 games, depending on other results. For QTV News, Amadou Tamba.
Now, before we end this news bulletin, here's a recap of our main news headlines. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, in partnership with various stakeholders, hosted a day-long town hall meeting on Wednesday for artisanal fishermen and policymakers. The Ministry of Justice hosted a closing ceremony for the 81st Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which furthers human rights progress across the continent. A devastating fire in Fuladu East District in Upper River Region has destroyed homes, leaving the affected families in despair. And in international news, the 12th Urban Forum is underway in Cairo, Egypt, welcoming over 37,000 participants from 182 countries. And in sports news, the Scorpions head coach Jonathan McKinstry today unveiled his 24-man squad for the Morocco 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Comoros and Tunisia this month. That's all we have time for in this edition of the news. Thank you very much for watching. Join us again at 10 for another bulletin.